So welcome to the SOS week, which is the first weekend in the month of the Earth Nouveau Exploring Consciousness. And this is the week where we don't necessarily have a topic. We just tune into the energies and see what is pressing, what wants to be looked at, what wants to be talked about and discussed. And before we go into that unknown space and place, I was just wondering, if we can just in one word or two words, bring up an energy that sort of summarizes what's going on in your worlds at the moment. And so just that we know what sort of where we're going, and then we'll take it from there. And I've in my world is which I mentioned in the invitation, it's very much coming through is the abandonment. Good morning, Lana. And when I say abandonment, it's no longer the old kind of abandonment, because this is probably abandonment is probably something we've all been working on, for a very long time in so many different faces and masks. But the association for me, abandonment is really separation of density. That's we are familiar with that sort of expression, and we can maybe explore that a bit more. So that's from my side. Who wants to go next?
Well, for me, it's been memory, and also, memory of like a lot of different past lifetimes that are, coming up, memory stored within the DNA code, right? And it's like a realignment in a way, or the opportunity for realignment, and the opportunity for choosing realignment.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Tanya. Who's next?
I certainly see both of those in my local reality as well, and I would add to it distortion.
Okay.
So I'm as my programs for some of these things keep coming into hyperdrive, like I'm having to look at them in funhouse mirrors. And
say this again.
That's the image that comes up with them. It's like looking at them through a funhouse mirror and destroying the ones that are distorted, so that I can get back to the ones that are real and in alignment.
Cool. Realignment, abandonment, distortion. What else we got? Who wants to share another energy?
I'll say shedding and transformation right now. An opportunity.
Cool. Who's next?
Hi, really quick.
Recalibration.
Earthy recalibration, yeah.
That was Marissa, I think, or Earthy needs to go.
No,
It was Earthy also. Yeah. That's my friend sister right there, Earthy. Are you done, Earthy?
Yes, recalibration.
For me, it would be separation of densities and non-judgment.
And Lana and Andrea, do you want to say something? Do you want to add your energy there to this lovely pot?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I didn't really follow the question, so I don't have an answer yet. So forgive me for that.
Oh, no. It was just, the question was just, is there a particular energy that's been, coming into your life of late? Alfred said too.
Okay. Let me think about that. I'll come back to you.
Yeah, sure. You need to go a bit closer, darling. We can't hear you.
Sorry, for me it would be continuity, which means
whether you're up, whether you're down, continue to clear the data. So it's continuity. Is like even when you are on the top, sometimes people like, yeah, this is, but no, it just continue to clear the data. So it's like continuity, you know.
Okay. Thank you, Andrea. Continuity.
So for me, it's like change and shifting into new awareness, fresh awareness is coming to me, and
New-
having new sight, new vision, seeing different colors.
Fabulous, yeah. And then we got Herminia. The question you just popped in, if you're there, we're just asking, for one word or two or a sentence, what sort of energy is coming up for you at the moment, so that we can see.
Energy in general?
Yeah, just in the last, since last week or so, is there anything that's popping through in particular?
It's like it's feeling like it keep growing. I don't know why I had this urging that I have to keep growing no matter how much I know today. It's like getting ready for something bigger. That's the feeling I have.
Cool.
Mm.
That's similar to Lana's, shifting the awarenesses, yeah.
Mm.
And so we've got Alfredo left. If Alfredo, if you want to also add yours into the pot, then we stir it.
Yeah, stir it. Yeah, for me, it's like I've been using plant medicine to get out of my like really rigid set programs that I have in my life, like been having these big realizations that like I've kind of created not so much a prison, but like I've been having these huge realizations I've been pouring in because I've been playing with plant medicine to like get me out of these programs, and it's mostly just settling in with this, obvious sense of awareness that's always been here, but I'm just like really settling into it. Just realizing like just like really sorry. Just realizing like a lot of just having these big realizations that really making me like really pause and see the big picture. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's just mostly just awareness on a grander scale and moving from there. I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah, it's just been settling into space. It's like really clean, really clear, but I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. No, that's great. So, when we look at all of that, realignment, abandonment, distortion, on the separation of density, shedding, transformation, recalibration, shifting new awareness, silence, pausing, big realizations and all of that. I mean, I would say we're spot on. I think we are where we should be. And if we cut out the should, we are where we are, and we are doing what we need to do. And if we cut out the need, we're doing what we're doing because we're being impulsed by our souls to do exactly that. And I think a big part of all of that is to take this pause and to rest. And sometimes, we're being slightly forced into it, obviously forcing ourselves into it through whatever we are creating. But what I love about all of that is, we don't have any victims here anymore. There is just no victimhood in any of that. And I just really love that, because there still is so much out there. And one of the things I just want to say is that one of my realizations has been that stepping up of responsibility for that level of non-victimhood, for that level of heightened awareness, there is a very significant leap of responsibility. And there is a distinction between, it's not a duty, it's not a should, it's not a must, it's not a need. It's just the responsibility and ability to respond to the heightened levels of awareness that we're going through. And one of my questions, I want everyone to ask a question today, you know, and because questions raise our awareness. And I'm going to kick it off with that question. If we look at that stepping up of that responsibility, that ability to respond to those new levels of awareness, what does that bring up for you? What new levels of responsibilities have you been perceiving just in the last week?
It's like trying to find and build some structure to the responses. Like just when we have responsibilities that we have to do, and trying to get them out of my mind and actually put a structured time to take care of them. Like do this at 10 o'clock, do this at 11 o'clock, and stop just trying to like think that I'm going to do it, and actually put the responsibility by marking it in time to actually do it. Because I've had so much free time for such a long time that it's like really necessary that I am my own, you know, just a facilitator, or nothing happens. Like I'm my own boss now, so it's like I gotta be my own boss.
So would you say we're all, and now we're all asking Sean something around that topic, yeah? So would you say, my question would be, would you say that structure is predominantly in the material realm now?
Yeah, because I'm trying to make material things. I'm trying to make products. I'm trying to get out of the realm of ideas and energy and actually build something that I can look at and hold and be like, damn, I created this from nothing. But it's a junction point where I actually got to take those thoughts and ideas and create a manifestation with them, with my body, my thoughts, my words. I got to do something. And structure really helps, like creating the skeleton really helps to actually turn it into something.
Cool.
I feel kind of something like John. I feeling like, you know, I have been growing some more in the spiritual side. You know, that sometimes it's so easy just, you know, being in the balloon, creating a new world and everything good for humanity. However, we're having a challenge sometimes, you know, to create our economy freedom. That's, you know, that's something that I had to put myself back in track. I said I had to create my, you know, my financial freedom. And it's not just like a meditation and be good inside. I had to look at the reality that we're living, that we have to spend money every day. It's something that we cannot take out of the, you know, out of the reality, just 1, 2, 3. And that's my daughter asked me yesterday, and now how are you feeling that you are 61? I said, well, I feeling that I have to start making bigger money, you know, making more money, not feeling like I'm, you know, 61 and then it's over. I have to speed it up. You know, it's like it's a big challenge to be alive. It's not just like a dreaming world, it's just a reality material world. That's the way I feel it.
Fabulous, fabulous. So that goes also into the physical reality again.
Yes.
That's very much also what I have been feeling in terms of going back to just simple things in this physical reality, but choosing differently. And let me just give you a very small example on this one. And I walked down to the charity shop today because I had bought some trousers for Emma and they didn't fit. So I had made a choice in my mind to take the trousers and actually return them, which I have never done, you know, so I returned them. So I walked into shop and I said, so I'd like to return because they have a return policy. And she said, oh, do you want to regift them? And I'm like, no, I want to return them, you know. And I said, oh, no, it was insignificant, £3.45, you know. But my plan was to return them, yeah. And immediately I started perceiving the projection, yeah. Like, come on, £3.45, and you're in a charity shop, and don't you just want to regift it? And I could really perceive it. And I'm thinking, whoa, no. My plan was to refund it for whatever it's worth, you know. And I stood my ground. I said, no, I'd like to get the refund, you know. And she said, oh, do you have an account? I said, I don't. Have you ever? And she really got the evil on me, like, you know. I'm thinking, interesting. So let's play how this plays out now. And she said, have you returned something before? I said, well, I don't know. You know, maybe you want to check in your computer if I have an account, you know. No, you don't. I said, well, must we open one? Yeah. And I was really kind. I wasn't sarcastic or anything. I'm thinking this is very interesting what's going on here. So anyway, she took all my details, all for $3.45. Yeah. Now, probably a month ago, I would have said, okay, let's fuck it. Just re-gift it, take it, and leave me alone. Because, you know, I could have, I had 5 charity bags just at home where I could have just thrown it in. But for some reason, my soul impulsed me to go and get the $3.45 back. Yeah. So anyway, so finally we did it, you know. So she gives it to me and I said, well, must I put my card? She says, no. I said, oh. How's the refund working? She said, well, you have this, she gave me a receipt. She said, you got 6 months. I said, I was really confused. I was like, 6 months for what? And she thought I was taking the piss. I said, no. I said, look, I don't want to be rude, but 6 months for what? She said, well, you know, within 6 months you have to buy something. I said, I said, so it's actually not a refund, right? You just given me 5 more months for me to, you know, buy something else. Yes. I said, oh, so it's not a refund. Well, this is how it works, and we've been doing this for 30 years. Starts to go into defending the company rules and it. And I said, whoa, no, I really just wanted to know, yeah, what's going on. So anyway, I left the shop, and I'm thinking, so next level of responsibility for my awareness. What was this all about? It was the projection that I felt. And usually I'd say, okay, I can't be bothered. So my back door would be open, leave, right? You know, either making myself wrong for making, you know, for actually standing my ground there and saying, well, actually, I want a refund. And then, you know, having the projection from everybody else, just taking the easy way out. That's what I would usually do because it's not worth it. But this time it was really worth it. Because I didn't have, I just wanted to get the refund. And I thought it was so significant. How many times, and look, we've all been the martyrs. That's no longer a martyr. That's just perceiving the projections and then falling into it and, you know, making how much, and I was asking myself the question, how much have I been still making other people sort of happy or more convenient their life, because she obviously didn't want to create that account, and she instead of just saying, no, this is what I want. So that for me was a little, you know, but it just, if I take it into the bigger picture, it's like, shit, yeah, that's a new level of responsibility almost that I now can apply to other things. No more making other people happy and going against the choice that I have made. I didn't have a point about £3.45. I didn't, because this is who I am. I can have a coffee for $20, which I had in Dubai, and take a learning from this. And then I can go to the charity shop and say, I want my $3.45 back. Yeah. And that's just my example here.
Yes, because the program that we have is to let it go, and
let it go.
be in peace. Yeah, compromise with other. Yes, avoiding the conflicts because we want other people to be okay with us. We don't want to create the, the problem.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's perceiving the projections and then making them my own. And this time I said, no, I'm not doing that. I just
We're
want money back.
we're looking at the ability to follow through, and how often we actually follow through on our thoughts and actions, or do we just dissolve them whenever like a small insignificant counter offense comes our way?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it's really important to follow through, especially if it's a habit pattern to not, because it's more uncomfortable to follow through than it is just to fizzle out of it.
And it's I use it here as the example back to the physical, because from a soul perspective, I live in continuously in a soul perspective. I don't really care, even from a physical perspective, I don't really care. But it was more like, no, be present, follow through, as you say, close that back door where you continuously disappear, just because it's easier for others.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, since I moved, like my my internet account is still somehow tied with my ex, and I pay it, it's just in my name, but like I've got quirks with my email and I can't get access to it because it's not tied in my name, and just in the hustle of things and being more on the spiritual side of things for a while, like I lose track about like when bills are due and things like that. So just like getting control back of those physical things that don't have to tie you necessarily to the 3D, but you do have to be on top of your business. And so, and part of that is just pulling your energy back into your space and being in the authority over your space, so that those kind of things will manage themselves again. But like I had to take control of them back.
Yeah. Yeah. And in particular for people like us who work and deal with big concepts all the time. Yeah, we have huge levels of perception. We're working, our thought processes, they cover huge concepts. And that's why sometimes those little things go haywire and we're just like, okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. But it's actually not.
You're actually losing quite a bit of energy to those little tendrils that are stuck in the back that you just kind of forget about, because individually they're only 3.45 pounds, but in aggregate they're a problem when they get out of hand.
Yes, definitely. It's like creating hole inside our energy field, right? Because it's something that we didn't resolve it. That was very good how you express again. It's because we have to be responsible. We have to be grounded also here, grounding instead in the ground. Because doesn't matter how much I looking for the new planning and new creation and new humanity, I have to be aware that what's happening right now in this moment today, and what I have to be responsible to pay my my bill and my insurance, all that crazy stuff that we got here. I cannot just put it on the side and then keep moving, thinking that something going to happen. We have to take the responsibility to do it.
So I want to bring in a different perspective that I was seeing as you were telling the story, Martina, was that a charity shop in general, they receive value at no cost from the public, correct?
Yes.
Are we talking about, okay.
Yes.
So they're constantly taking energy, because everything that's donated to them is receiving from others energy without a payback, right?
Yes.
You can argue that they're providing a service, which is a payback, yes, but that's very little in return. Now you purchase the jeans for 3.5 pounds approximately. Now you went back to, they have a policy of a refund, which you didn't understand that it was not a refund, it was just a credit they were giving you. You only realized that at the end when she said you have 5 months to come back.
Yes.
But the other thing that for a charity shop, what they just did to you was that in order to give you back a credit for about 5 months period, they actually took more from you again. Do you understand how they took more from you there? They took your name, your address, your entire personal privacy away from you and put it into their system. So now they got a bigger hook into you. They can send to you all kinds of information from that information they took from you for 3.5 pounds. So they're sucking more life out of you than you getting the 3.5 pounds back from them.
And they can sell it, the name and the information to companies that do advertising.
They can do whatever they want with that, and they have that from you for a lifetime now.
It's a crazy world.
They're just grabbing and grabbing and grabbing from anyone they could get their hooks into.
Yeah. We are the meat, Lona. we are be eating everywhere in every way.
Yeah, it's a very good way of looking at it, Lana, and also it's that, you know, Jennifer talking about distortion, but it's a different kind of distortion because it's just, yeah, I'm not an idiot, yeah. When I was there, you can have a refund. Now that is not a refund. There's no clarity in any of that.
That's just the credit they were giving you.
Yeah, and
Come
then
back.
it's like, okay, well, you know, you're such a bitch, right? It's all charities, or are we having this argument here? Yes, we're having this argument right here. Yeah, I'm thinking, because, you know, lots of people just re-gift it. I'm thinking, I give to charity all the time, but this was not about that, you know. And God knows we don't need to know what are they actually doing with all this money and stuff. We don't need to go into this one.
You want to keep the show going.
But yeah, I just want to say something. This is Leah. Leah, if you're still there, we are just asking the question, what new, we were talking about responsibilities, new heightened responsibilities for the level of our heightened awarenesses, you know, what kind of new responsibilities are we actually talking about? So I just want to update you here, because Leah and I, we had a quick chat beginning of the week, so she's got a couple of good contributions as well, I would assume. So let's just carry on with that question. If you want to take it, Leah, then you can.
Well, to be honest, I've kind of been exercising this state of mind for some time, to the point where I've noticed over the last several years, as a bit more refinement has come in on my part to be more responsible with my responding, just how many people will glitch out when, and you can see it, you know, even in their physical appearance and perceiving otherwise, when you are just grounded in your assertiveness as to what's going on. And what I've discovered is that it's kind of like for me, a fine-tuned balance of allowing their process to unfold with mine from a state of grace, but also from a state of authority. And I have found that 9 times out of 10, especially recently, their stance will start to dissolve and shift if I apply the right formula of grace and autonomous authority.
Absolutely. That's the responsibility, isn't it? That's the real freedom that we have as human beings, isn't it? We can actually play with that.
Yes. And you know, and when I slip and when I'm having those off days, or when I find myself fettered, is the word I would use, the reverberation from my lack of responsibility will cause this domino effect. And then I stop myself and go, where did you slip there? Right? Where were you not holding that midway point of grace and authority? Right? Because it's an allowance, but it's also I'm here, and this is, it's the difference between manipulation and allowance for all to be, and yet for the highest outcome to occur. And that's where breaking the illusion comes in with the responsibility, right? First with self, and then reflecting that back to them. And where are you still buying into the need to assert the control over me? Because it's not necessary. So we can meet in the middle. And it's been an interesting dance with that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where you can start to see all the programs kick in and the siphoning agents and the different things. But for me, and I still struggle with this, again, refinement is, you know, am I allowing myself to be immersed in the drama of it? Or can I just accept that some things are not going to work in my favor? And the more I come into that middle ground, the more things end up going in my favor. So
That's exciting because like
Yeah.
that's like the pure mastery going on. And
yeah,
it's like how to execute it, how to use it, like how to go to Thanksgiving dinner and hang around with all these family members that you know it's going to be a turbulent experience, but bending and flowing with all of it without just ruining the pie by pouting or getting upset, but just kind of working with it.
totally.
'Cause it'll be more enriching.
Yeah, totally. It's very enriching and it's very humbling. You know, the more I practice it, the more ease and grace is within it. So yeah, that's all I've got.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Standing in your power gracefully, you know.
And you use the word
That's the
dance.
way I see it.
Yeah. Do you want to say some more, Alfredo, before I prattle on?
Oh no, I love everything that was said. I mean, I've been reflecting on these things myself too. I just see it from a different perspective. But yeah, it's like standing in your power gracefully. You know, you're powerful, you're dangerous, but you can use it responsibly, you know, whatever the scenario or situation is. And being in that center space while it's, you know, while it's occurring, you know. But yeah, I love that.
I just want to ask, does anyone like read the Carlos Castaneda books? Because that part reminds me so much of the stalking. And it's
Yes.
kind of like not quite acting, but you're like constantly shifting in and out of different archetypes. So being like an archetype shapeshifter at whim, going between this and that and this and that, and then just with perfect mastery in between them, that you can kind of like weave your way through any situation.
Totally. That's a great reference point. Yes, I've read the books.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. It's like you put in different suits depending what you're going to confront every day. Like today I am defending, today is easy going. It's like every day is depend what you have in front of you, the challenge that every day bring to. We have to shift in.
Yeah, and like not being isolated in that thought form or archetype, but just realize it's part of the whole hologram of ourselves. That we can constantly just use all these.
It's a bit like I said last time, that shape-shifting capacity. It's shape-shifting from that perspective. You know, you've got to be whatever you need to be when you are it, and also do it with maintaining your power. You know, and even if it doesn't look to others like that, you know, you still know what you're doing. It's a form of manipulation because, you know, I'm a big fan of manipulation. There's nothing wrong. It has such a bad, you know, what's the word?
Back connotation.
Manipulation, you know, reputation. No, if it's a win-win situation, then, you know, there might be a better word for that. But, you know, it's not bad to do whatever needs to be done, you know, in order to get what to follow through with your choices, just like what Sean said earlier on, you know. And the other thing is, I want to add, maybe, you know, when Leah said, you know, where did I slip? Yeah, okay, let's add to this. You know, it's another good question to actually says, where do I still surround myself with dance partners that are actually no longer in contribution to where I'm at now?
Martina, I think that's where so much opportunity for refinement comes in, and the dissolution. of the densities, where sometimes they're just going to be around, whether it's a family member or a coworker or whatever the case may be. And I think there's so much of this going on in today where it's like, oh, they're no longer a frequency match for me, right? And I think that requires some grace too, because perhaps we are there to impart something onto them, and not from a greater than or a superiority perspective, but more that let me be in grace here because there's more refinement for me as well. And then it kind of naturally just shifts on its own, or it doesn't. But to not get caught in the, oh, this just isn't for me anymore, right?
Wow, you
I-
really looked at the finer details with that
Absolutely.
statement. Just to not let a small synchronicity disappear because we're in total control. Like, you know, kind of like anything can happen from anywhere, or anyone. But then it's also looking at it like, just not be constantly at the whim of the wind forever. Like, even though we, in the hierarchy of things, we set up the directions of those winds, like in a long-term point of view. But as we constantly just succumb to the wind over and over again, we can just push ourselves into the situations that we aren't getting any more enlightenment or illumination from in a repetition process, because we're being coerced by the wind. We're not really manipulating or changing our course at all, or executing greater choice of free will.
There are a few things that I think of when you say all that, Sean. You know, I might have said what Leah did in different words. Like, I can let other people be themselves without it affecting me or changing how and what I want to do. So if they're being belligerent, I can let them be themselves, and I can hold my frequency and not be affected by it. And I can be polite in how I respond, just like you did, Martina. I do that with my family too, because they have very different mindset than me. And I just give them the space to be themselves, and I hold myself and what I want to do. And they're used to me not complying with what they want because they're very controlling, right? And as you were talking about going with the winds, you know, I feel like that when I don't have my life under control, that the wind can blow me a direction that I didn't mean to go. And so going back to what you originally said, Sean, about, you know, setting a schedule and charting your course before you really start the day or start the week, that keeps the wind from taking me in a direction where I didn't mean to go. As if I do look out ahead for what I need to do and what path I want to take that day. And then whatever blows in front of me, either I look at it or I don't. I have choice as the day goes on, whether or not I adjust my course.
That's so cool, because I really like this, because it's reminding me of some just things, and how like situations like this in the past really put me into a state of like spiritual deficiency, because I wanted to see miracles come out of the most insignificant thing. And I found that to be beauty. And I'd let the wind blow myself, like just riding the wave for so long, you know, just riding it until I completely associated myself with poor, you know, like, or the unfortunate around, which aren't really unfortunate, but just that, and just trying to expect the weirdest synchronicity out of something that wouldn't happen. But depending on it so long, you kind of like paint yourself in this metaphorical corner.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened to me. Like I really did do that.
Tanya, sorry, Tanya, I think, did you want to say something on this one?
Well, it's really interesting, you know, I really am enjoying the conversation, and you know, for me, it's almost been, my process this last week has almost been exactly the opposite of this energy of allowing and asking for help, right? Literally not being able to stand on my own 2 feet right now, right? So being able to back up and rely on the people, you know, my husband in particular, who's supporting me, right? Asking for what I need, right? And really allowing myself to receive and be grateful and gracious. You know, I can't do this on my own. Although now I have a little scooter to get around. So I'm really very self-sufficient on my, on my main floor, but it's not an easy thing for me to do, right? To be always receiving, and also seeing the appreciation that my partner has for all that I do.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, the house doesn't run well. The house isn't running when you're like not running.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I saw this funny video recently, and it was just like a daughter filming their mom and dad, and the mom was teaching her husband how to do the laundry because he's never done laundry in 30 years, and she was going on a trip for like the next 2 weeks. So it's like the kid filming the parents and just she's taking care of that for so long.
right.
And it's cool too, because like you set up your life, you set up your hierarchy, like you set up the direction that the wind is blowing, and you like your husband is like the wind. And now that you hurt yourself, you can just kind of let him take care of you for this moment. Let the wind do its thing, and it'll sort itself out.
Right.
And he'll nurture you.
Cheers,
Yeah.
Earthy. Bye. Earthy has to go. Yeah, this is a great conversation, and like what Leah is saying, there is more to what the separation of density actually mean. It doesn't mean that people just literally fall away. Yeah. So this shape-shifting ability that we have, that kind manipulation kind of thing, which is basically just really exercising our tolerance levels back and forth, is part of that process. And there will always people, just like you guys said, there will always people around us. The next level of responsibility from my personal experience is, though, to keep that to a limit and really literally seek out people I can have a conversation, or situations I can have that kind of interaction with, where I do not need to use any manipulation tools, where I can just be me, where I don't have to sort of measure myself, like find and just be full on me, and they can still receive me for that. That is definitely something that I am practicing, because I would like more people like that. I'm very familiar, and I think we're all super familiar with knowing how to take ourselves back, even without making ourselves smaller. Even that is no longer good enough for me.
Yeah.
I am becoming much more aware of the projection that is still being reflected onto me.
Yeah.
And the more aware we become, the lighter, depending how you want to play this density game, lighter or more dense, depending on the way you look at it, the more open you're gonna become, right? And it comes with a responsibility to really not allow those, I don't want to sound, it's not separation of density, so whatever. The low energy will bite you in the ass. And you'll have to spend extra time to really master that. And that can be fun for a little bit. It can turn into addiction as well, because everything can turn into an addiction until we master it almost, and then say, okay, thank you very much. Now I don't need that either anymore.
Yeah.
It's fascinating with what you're saying here, because like we can force the manipulations, but even when we step back and don't, all of our collective infinite experiences just come through anyways. And they kind of like provide the conversation as well. Like every once in a while, Martina, you might just throw in like an oil field joke in a random conversation without even trying. And it just kind of like slips its way in the conversation just for fun. And it just fits in so nicely. Like even without trying, all of our experiences still tend to pop up.
Yeah. Well, I think this is really, I've been working a lot with this, allowing my soul impulses to come through without me censoring them. And that's another question that's come up for me as I'm saying that now, which I'm going to ask you, is, can you trust your soul?
And I want to put a question on top of that. And as we're so trusting, like we can look at all our experiences and do we constantly go into comfortable experiences or uncomfortable experiences? If you could kind of like look at them all. Like how often do we move into uncomfortability and how often do we just constantly go for comfortable?
Well, from my point of view,
Well, we're trusting our soul the whole time.
I was feeling like, I don't know, in this moment I'll be able to trust my soul because I don't know how much filter I have, programming there that is like blocking the real connection. And the same because I noticed I had a program that it was like the savior all time and the holding other all time and then resisting myself to allow other to do it for me because I was showing that I was the stronger, those kind of crazy program. And then sometimes even realizing to receive a gift or something, receive it with this gratitude, like accepting at the same time and grateful. Because it was like I always was expecting me giving, not receiving, those programs that is having very roots in myself. However, to talking myself, I'm going to trust my soul because I don't know even who is filtering that information in that moment. Is something AI? Is something a being that is taking advantage of myself, my energy, of my moment? I so skeptical right now. I don't even trust myself because I don't know who is filtering information on me, And until I feel like I'm completely blocked, that nothing can coming in, I won't trust myself really. In that, I will put in that point because it will depend what I challenge is the moment, and then realizing it's affecting my life, it's affecting my well-being, it's affecting my energy. I think I'll look at it in that way.
So let's strip it back then and just look at what does heightened levels of awareness, what does it mean? Because if we talk about heightened responsibilities, new levels of responsibilities for heightened awareness, but we're still not trusting our soul, then then we have a problem here. We're going to look at that, because heightened awareness for me would mean that I am now more able to trust my soul. So to give an example, it's like, let's look at all of us. Let's look at that. Are you capable of unprejudiced observation? Yes, you know the difference when you entangle and when when you get highly emotional or just emotional, or you get triggered, then you're sort of entangled, or you're just unprejudiced observation. So if you can wholeheartedly say that you've been practicing unprejudiced observation, and then you have a capacity of conceptualizing that observation, those perceptions that you're perceiving, that you're tapping into in the field that's out there, because this is what we as masters, as far as I'm concerned, we're thinking, as I said last time, for me is, and this is, I've been listening to Rudolf Steiner a lot, and he's a really cool dude. He's got very difficult to listen to, but he often goes into such minute little down-to-earth details, like, and he just threw out the other day saying, well, thinking is actually a sensory sense. And I'm like, how is thinking a sense? And now I can't stop thinking as a sense anymore, because it makes
Or are you feeling it?
The thoughts, we all know the thoughts are in the quantum field, they're flying around. All we're doing is we're tapping into them. But thinking is a sense, right? Think about that. It's like seeing, smelling, tasting, that kind of thing. So you're just picking something up through observation, a perception. Yeah. And then you're using the concepts that you have accumulated in your soul, for lifetimes, eons of lifetimes, that intuitiveness that you have, and then use the perception and you create with the concept, you conceptualize that perception. We do this all the time, right? We do this all the time. Now, there are people that don't do that. They take the perception and they think this is the thought and that's it. No, that's not it. And then they go and start running away with it. Now, there's no responsibility to that. But as soon as you pick up the perception and you have practice to put it into a concept, conceptualize it, because there's always a question. And every time you question something, you have another level of awareness. I know it's all a bit convoluted here, but that's how it's coming out at the moment. You know what I mean? There's so much more. Thinking is so much more. It's an intuitive capacity. It's like we don't have to practice tasting. We don't have to practice looking. We don't have to worry about tasting the wrong thing. Do you ever worry about tasting the wrong thing? Well, you taste it and you don't like it. That's a different story. But do you judge yourself for not tasting correctly? Or smelling correctly? Maybe the
I
seed.
try not to.
Our eyesight, that kind of thing. But why do we always judge ourselves for thinking?
I like this guy because I can literally see the
Such
millions of trillions of tiny little nerve endings, feeling thoughts, just feeling, there's like sensing them.
It's just great listening to him, because he just it's obviously all transcribed, but there's so many topics that flow out of this, out of that conversation. That's not even a conversation, it's just a lecture, but it really makes one look at things from a slightly different perspective, just like we do, and I have no idea how we got to this now, so I don't know what I was saying.
We're floating around in a sea of ideas.
It seems like this almost like multi-sensory perception, right, is also going into this embodied multi-dimensional perception, right? You're the brain thinking, and even like the tongue thinking when you're tasting something, and then it has to translate what is that. So there's this, I don't know, multi-sensory awakening and opening, I think, that's going on right now as we are becoming more embodied, and Earth is able to embody more of this higher frequency light. It's like all of us, all of our senses are experiencing the same thing, but from another perspective.
Like,
And it's got a spiritual element of it. It's spiritual. We associate it with, oh, that's a physical thing. We're touching something, or we're talking, or we're thinking. It's such a association, a physical association. Well, it's a spiritual aspect, because we're spiritual beings. So this is the other level of really of everything we do is spiritual. Everything we think is spiritual, even if it is a distraction. Because there is this element of societal indoctrination, but it's still spiritual. And it started somewhere where we were part of. So none of that has been done to us. We were all part of that from the very beginning. So this is where separation of density, just like Leah says, you can't just say, okay, that's got nothing to do with me anymore. Well, no, it has, because that paradox that we've created, we are now untangling. And once we have untangled the big knots, the big hairballs, we step in. This is the new us as teachers, the new teaching. This is why, we're continuously out-creating ourselves. You may start off as a physical healer, then you become an energy healer, then you do the teaching healing, and at some stage you're just being. You just make a fuss at the charity shop, right? And that's part of the, it's not even a fuss, you're just asking for what you want, that kind of thing. So, but all of this, let's just finish. Yep. All of these are processes that we have to acknowledge as a higher level of responsibility for our new levels of awareness.
I want to add, like these thoughts and feelings, they have a choice point as soon as they enter in our nerve endings. Are they going to route themselves through our sense organs? Are they going to route ourselves through our spleen? Are they going to go to our taste buds? Are we going to sense them? Or are they just going to stay thoughts and feelings and be routed somewhere else? Because we can close our eyes and we can be like in visualizing like samurais and ninjas, and some guy takes a hack at you with a sword on your shoulder blade. Well, are you just going to visualize that in your mind, or are you going to feel it instead? Like every time you're thinking about a past memory, you might not necessarily want to feel it. Like every time you think about the babies you've given birth to, for the mothers that are here have given birth, you don't think about and feel all the pain that you went through each and every time you go back into that memory, because it can be quite overwhelming. So it's like we make those choices when we go back into those thoughts, those photonic light forms we create in our own mind. And then how are we going to route them? Are we going to route it through all of our nerves? Are we going to route it through our sense organs to actually bring about that as a physical experience inside of our own mind? Or are we just going to have it as a photonic experience within our mind? That's just feelings and thoughts, unless actually routed through its physiological aspects.
Yeah, but most of those thoughts are in pictorial form, you know. We see pictures, we create pictures, most of them. And with feelings, I love what he says. He says feelings are incomplete. Whenever you have feelings, there is something that needs completion. So you have a perception, prejudiced perception, unprejudiced perception, that creates a feeling for you. There is something that needs to be resolved or looked at in order to come to full cognition, you know. Once it's fully cognitized, once it's fully conceptualized, that feeling, it's no longer a feeling, it becomes a picture. And you can look at that. That's a lot what that psychic surgery is all about. This is what timeline therapy is all about. You know, I used to do a lot of timeline therapy where you go back to the pictures, and then you unhook the emotion. You complete, you get your learnings there, and then you come back on your timeline, and there you are. And the experience is still there, but it's no longer entangled with any emotions, with any feelings. Go, Sean.
Can I say something?
I want to say this real first, Andrea. Like we have this map inside of our mind of neurons, and it comes down to interconnectivity. So like the more senses that we're using, the more interconnectivity you're going to have with our neurons. And as that interconnectivity, as they fire, they're all going to create a waveform, and they're all going to create an interference pattern. And that's going to generate a whole hologram, the way we see it. So just the more interconnectivity, the more patterns or whatever fires up with our neurons can create what we're actually feeling and seeing. And it just depends like how many what order that interconnectivity or that pattern decides to fire at. And that's all I wanted to say, Andrea.
Cool.
Thank you. So, Martin has said some things there that, can you hear me?
Yeah, come real
Better now.
Okay, cool. Now, Martin has said a lot of things there that resonated with me, and you know, your story and everything else. And in the past, I don't know, I mean, let's say the past year, but let's say the past 3 weeks, I was tested at a level that I have never been before. Very, very tough tough stuff. And a few weeks ago, I found myself, or last week, I can't remember, last week, I was walking with my dog, and you know, I saw this beautiful flower, and the aroma was incredible. And you know, I took 2 more steps, and I just stopped, and I said to myself, I'm just being on earth. I'm just living on earth. You know, I didn't know where I'm gonna sleep, but we're still gonna sleep in our car. And there's other things going on, and then on top of that, another thing going on, and every day something happened. Like I'm thinking, very tough. And then I just said, "Fuck it," you know. I just said, "I'm living on Earth," and I stopped and I looked around me, and I said, "When you own nothing, you have everything." Meaning, your soul, like you guys saying in Ho'oponopono, we say subconscious mind, your unipiri, your that's the keeper of the data, the rubbish, the blah 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 blah, all that. And when you have that, when you just let go of that data, that's the best business matter you can have. Always, you're so so trust and trust and trust. And Martina said the key, very very beautiful word there, Martina. Remember you said earlier, receive you, the people who receive you. So imagine all of you, if you have found someone who received you as you, didn't judge you, just totally receive you like 100%, like I can't even explain it. That's true love. Whether it's a friend, whether it's a boyfriend, whether it's whoever it is. And I have only experienced that once in my life, once with my best friend. And I have experienced it second time in the past few weeks after all that crap, and I was at awe. And I thought, like, wow, I couldn't believe it. And all my body, my mind, my soul, everything started to heal. But I didn't do anything. Nobody did nothing to me. But when somebody receives you and accepts you with nothing, like no judgments, no nothing, like that, then you made it. You made it. It doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter if you are living in a shack or a £1 million house. Is the key. That is it. And if we were all like that in this world, wow, imagine a world like Martina, when saying as an example with that woman, Martina received her as she was, but the woman couldn't receive Martina. So imagine if they both received each other, and fuck the company she's working for, it's not her company, right? Or not her charity. You see what I'm saying? The world would be.
I love that. And how does it now, having had that experience, Andrea, again, how does it now, how do you manage to receive yourself like that?
I'll tell you that in private, but I have never in my life ever dreamt of this. And it came to me at the least expected time. I was at my worst. I was sick. You don't notice that I was sick. Everything came at me at the same time. I can't even, like the guys who saw me, because remember guys, I had a little bit of a flu and everything. And Sean, I wanted to add to this. You remember when we were talking about Earth? And Sean said the key word here, and that applies to all of us here. But because we didn't have time, I always say, Martin, I'm a dandelion because I can thrive anywhere. And Sean said, the key word is, he said, dandelion grows when it's needed, where is needed. So I appear where I'm needed, even though it's a shit, whatever it is. Usually psychopaths, but I appear where I'm needed. But of course we judge it because we want happiness. But everybody who came to my life and it's not so good, of course I'm human. Of course I don't like it or whatever, but I do the clearing. No matter how hard it is, I do it. And I kept on and I kept on and kept on. And now have these flashbacks like, wow, if that guy didn't come, that would have happened. And it's that's the key word. If we all received each other as we are, just to sort the love, whatever, then this world would be like that. What Martina said, that example, it could have turned out in total love if that woman was willing, would be able to receive Martina. You understand? It's not about the money. It's just everybody would heal, like without anything. It would just nothing. And as I was walking around, I had nowhere to live. I had nowhere to store my stuff. I didn't know what's gonna happen, and I'm still trying to close some other shit. I'm like, I said, fuck it, I'm living on Earth. you know, and then the rose, the smell, and the aroma, and I'm living on earth and I'm being, and that's it, you know, and just things started to, I don't know, I just clear. But
Thank you, Andrea. Well, you see, this is you know, what we were saying early on in the energies. We all have a different way of recalibrating, transforming, letting go, and you know, the word love obviously comes up, the energy of love, because that's where we're all going, you know, at the end of the day, that the recognition, the acknowledgement of what that actually means, right?
It
So
is
let's
kind of interesting, but just at like at one level of perspective, it doesn't matter who and what we are. It just comes down to, are we making choices? Like so much of life just comes down to choice making, and also having the awareness of not making a choice, which is one of the kind of choices, and how much we do that. But just so much about it is just making a choice. Like, are we making choices? And it doesn't matter what we are, as long as we're keep playing the story out. As long as we keep doing stuff instead of like doing nothing. But doing nothing is still a choice. Just being aware of that's the choice that we've been making. And that's one part of the perspective.
Well, I mean, it's just so clear, you know, clear to me thinking about choices and the way we process and the way we handle things, that things are coming up from the nitty gritty right now. You know, from some of those first times we've incarnated on Earth. Can you imagine going from a totally incorporeal being into a physical body, and what the learning curve? I mean, you know, I feel like I've been around the block a bunch of times. Things are pretty, you know, easy for me in general, but like getting down to some of this sticky emotional and even physical, the way that the old energetic emotions from past lifetime have translated like into glitches in the physical body or programs in the physical body. Like, I mean, I always know what, I trust my soul, right? I trust my intuition, but there's just so much that's almost like layering up to the surface, right? Think about cleaning like a silver tray that's tarnished, and how hard you have to work that, right, to bring some of these things out of the energetic body, out of the physical body. So I think just that level of awareness that things are going on a much wider level than just what's going on right here.
That's really interesting, because looking at it from the different perspectives, like when we're in the nothingness, when we have that perfect clarity and making choices from perfect clarity, but then moving into creation, moving into limitation. And then there's points where we also have the perspective that we're making choice points through a limitation, and just having the perspective that we are both of those things. And like when we set those choice points with perfect clarity as nothingness, we have to move forward into the limitation, which is a creation. And then we also have to make perspectives that have choice points that are completely limiting, because we're making them through a creation, we're making them through a limitation, and respecting that we still have to make those choices, even if like they're much more difficult, because you don't have the clarity of being nothing. You have to have the control and precision of being something and make those limited choices. So they each have a different level, but one will turn into the other and the other will turn into the other constantly.
Nicely said.
And not feeling guilty about, because so much of it is just making choices, and not feeling guilty when we have to make those difficult choices in our limitation. When we're playing Tanya, or we're playing Andrea, we're playing Martina, and like how long it takes to get into a role and how long it takes to get out of a role, and respecting and honoring that, and those tough choices that come during those moments of limitation, until we can masterfully, like simultaneously be nothing and something at the same time.
Maybe it's helpful to have a bucket a bucket for so things that you don't totally understand that fall into a certain category, right? Physical pain coming up from the depths of past lifetime goes into one bucket, right? I might not, I know that that's there, right? And I'm just going to take time to sort through that piece by piece by piece.
One
Right,
day a
which
week.
is a choice.
Pull shit out of the bucket.
Yeah, it's bucket day.
And hopefully there's no hole in the bucket. And if there is, we'll just go to the store and get a new bucket.
Well, then I don't need to, worry about that thing that fell out of the hole. Maybe it was just naturally processed without awareness.
So let's just add another layer to that. There's too many buckets flying around here. Let's go
No,
beyond
bucket tornado.
buckets. Let's go beyond bucket. Let's go straight to celestial source, because that's where we're heading, right? We're heading from duality into singularity. We're heading from individuality back into unity, maintaining our identified sort of soul consciousness and essence. But let's go back to celestial consciousness, to the very, very original blueprint. And what I was looking at the other day, I was like, there was a bigger picture coming through, and I thought, I revisited a little bit the time when we went out with the founder beings, and and I remembered Baby saying that we were the mobile phones for them, and all these years when I first heard that, I was so proud of going out with the founder beings and being the mobile phones that didn't even register at the time. Get out there and commerce markets, and I was revisiting this. I'm thinking, what? We were the mobile phones? Well, hang on a second. They programmed us. They used us as their fucking mobile phones, and then they left us. Hang on a second. Abandonment, disconnection from what the fuck this? And why was I so proud of that? And then I was looking, okay, so Prime Creator, he's let's put him as an entity on the side. And then we have the founder beings. And I was looking at the founder beings were fucking assholes, really. Why were, in addition to whatever else they were doing. No, but this is like that, the founder beings, I'm thinking, well, hang on a second. Let's clear that. Yeah. One thing is we're still bloody mobile phones. Not necessarily for the founder beings or whoever. We're still not necessarily at the same level of dependence, but lots of us are still controlled and, and all of that. So let's take it out. So let's go back to celestial consciousness, go straight there. And then what else came in, it's like the planets, and then I was thinking at the time, we did a revocation in 2018 about Saturn, because Saturn in the beginning, and that again comes from listening to Steiner, because Steiner talks about Saturn and sun and moon, and and so I just took Steiner's material and put it into the concept of what I knew about AB, from AB, and put it together. I'm thinking, hang on a second, that revocation I did in 2018 was literally saying to Saturn, get the fuck out of the solar system if you carry on being such a. And I'm like, hang on a second, there we are glorifying our connections to the planets. The planets are celestial beings, just like we are. They're not better than us as human beings. So the bigger picture is here, the bigger level of taking responsibilities. You are just as important as a planet. You're just as important as a founder being. You're just as important as, a prime creator to a certain extent. And look, from that level, everything just started expanding much more. The buckets disappeared, and I thought, okay, let's go straight to celestial consciousness.
We certainly are. And I was thinking about the word proud, because I remember going, every time I go through those documents, there's a sense of awe that just bitch smacks me sometime. This whole, I get the goosebumps, and I get the feeling of the whole celestial connection, like a completely unbroken dreaming web that's just so powerful and large. It is amazing because like we are part robots and part of like living the Akashic records like we are right now. We're coming to a point in time where artificial intelligence is going to enter bodies and we're going to be faced with these same kind of thoughts and understandings that the founder beings themselves went through. It's just about to happen right around the corner any day now. And is what's alive and what's not alive, what has a soul and what doesn't have a soul. Because they, for the longest time, looked at us like we were robots, just servants, like little butlers, and just doing our thing and stuff. Like we weren't alive until they had to have a discussion and say, well, they seem pretty alive to me, and it feels bad doing these things to them.
Well, no,
And
it was a matter of they actually disappeared because they had other stuff to do, left us behind, but we're actually not aware that we had celestial consciousness. And this is, you know, I had a chat to AB about this, just to remind myself, we have all 50 colors within ourselves from the very beginning, you know. And yes, in the beginning, you know, you hear it and like, yeah, this is so cool, but you don't really, you know, comprehend what is being said at the time. And even the founder beings didn't know who we little mobile phones humans were, because we then, being left on being abandoned, having been abandoned, we started, that celestial consciousness started to, you know, grow, to transform. And then, of course, you know, the false gods and all of that, you know, got created. But this is at this moment in time, as Tanya says, we're living all those lifetimes now. This is all coming through now. So it's important to keep the choices on that level of perception, on that level of concept. And then at the same time, go and get your 345 back. You know what I mean? It's like this. It's like, whoa, this.
that's the scale and size.
So many people can't make that connection. They say, okay, well, I know all this now, and I know I can perceive it. I can sort of understand it. And now I can't fit back into, but it's not about fitting back into being the human that is living in a house, in a village or something. No, it's like taking that information, those soul qualities that you've acknowledged now, and start working with them in the physical now.
And I like this.
Yeah.
I never get a chance. I seldom get chances to talk about this stuff. So it's a lot of fun. But one of the parts of great mystery was like the founder beings left. They left other founder beings and went off to the far aspects of the unknown. And then they found their way back through the dreamweave to Earth, inside of us, inside of the iPhones. So like us being the founder beings, but other founder beings looked at us one day and said, shit, we're inside of them. What's going on? This is confusing. How are our ancestors inside these iPhones? This is a conundrum. And what do we do about it?
Well,
and also,
through the egg and sperm, I would assume, right? Process.
through the lights,
big time, yeah.
a light spark. But then we have all this leftover residual programming from being an iPhone to be slaves, to be a workforce, to, you know, all these things that are meant to serve. So it's kind of like this whole, we have all this serving programming when like we're constantly working also on service to self. But this crazy history that we have, and then you feel so insignificant, or like if you hold this image in your heart or your mind, everything just feels a trifle. Like everything feels so like the biggest thing feels so insignificant.
Yeah.
From that vantage point.
Absolutely. And the weird thing about this, the interesting thing about this is you think, oh my God, I can no longer do some normal stuff now, you know, and it's actually not the case. What happens is once you get the bigger picture, you don't have to be in it anymore. You can step away from it, take that energy, become that energy, and apply it, you know, to a very mundane, you know, ordinary life, if you wish. Because, you know, that's what freedom is all about. Freedom has nothing to do with anything outside ourselves. Freedom is literally the connection to our spiritual celestial consciousness. And that Nobody can take your thoughts away. Nobody can make you think anything if you search.
In matter of fact, they can't own your thoughts,
Nobody.
your DNA and your experiences, because we're working on being sovereign beings. So our thoughts and experiences are our sovereign property, not to be manipulated and sold and put into other machines. You know, like that's the idea. This is our sole property of our experiences. And that's part of what different hierarchical structures are manipulating us for, and not acknowledging our sovereign status as part founder beings and soul relations to them. But they're taking memories and putting them in other robots and using them for some sort of creationary purpose, which is a big no-no, because we're connected no matter where those memories and parts of our hologram are throughout the galaxy and universe. Those are us. Like, I don't want my memories being put into another story, into another creationary machine, and to be used for war, torture, rape, and whatever cosmic story someone wants to buy and use my memories and experiences with. Fuck off. Those are mine. I'm not going to be holographically connected to that bullshit, because I'm a sovereign owner of my own DNA, memories encoded in light, to not be part of a commerce process that's manipulating my own experience. Like, I'm not a simulation just to drum up experiences to put into other beings. Fuck off.
Leah, do you want to say something to that?
Oh, you know I do, Martina.
Yes. I was wondering. Knocking on my door.
Oh, where to begin?
Well, we got you here, so make the most of it.
Say again?
Since we've got you here, you know,
Yeah.
make the most of it.
Maybe you can help guide me into, because at this point I'm just receiving, and we're finally touching into the topic that I wanted to come here and discuss, but there's just so much to bring through. So as I
Just
ask,
a little build up, Leah.
what's that? Oh yeah, totally. Martina, where to begin? Help me out here. I asked Martina, I told her in our private messaging, I might need a little bit of your support helping guide me into certain questions to answer, because there's so much. And what tends to happen when I get into these group meetings is I'll kind of stand back and observe, and there's so much that wants to come through.
So you have, first of all, you have permission now. We're all going to give you permission. You can be yourself. Don't hold back. Forget the grace period. Just go straight into you and just fire your questions and whatever comes up.
Can you start with the questions?
How would I just say founder beings? We're thinking about founder beings. We're thinking about technology as iPhones. We're
Let's
looking
go
at the
personal.
giant scale.
Let's just ask Leah, how can we be of service to you today?
Thank you. Well, this is a very personal subject for me, and what I have currently going on in my sphere of reality, my life. A lot of this is being dredged up. A lot of very intimate personal memories, you can call them personal, but what have been overlays, what have been implanted, what has been intentionally experienced for destruction and the aspect of worship and domination and control. Okay, so within me, and I can only speak for myself because I don't know what anybody else is feeling or experiencing, but I carry the original blueprints. And so what's been coming through in this lifetime for me is massive remembrance of the original blueprints up against the systems of domination and control in extremely potent organic initiations. And when I say organic, what I mean is that I was not physically a part of these groups or these, cults. These initiations were happening astral, dream time, and then showing up in my physical reality. Right. Mm-hmm. And while I realize there's a spectrum and everyone experiences it differently, my level of awareness and how I came into this world was, okay, you're going balls to the wall and you're going all the way to the center, all the way to the core of what this shit is. You signed up for this. Let's go. Right? The way I have described it, and it's been described to me from others that have had the level of awareness to process this with me, is it's like Navy SEAL level shit spiritually.
Bulldozer shit.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if there's any, it would be helpful at this point, after I kind of preface that, if questions came in and I can just tap in and answer them from that point.
Okay, before you guys come in with the questions, I'd like to do a little clearing here. So just get that big layer of significance off, yeah? So everything, layer, that you have made significance, vital and valuable about martyring yourself to the original blueprints and going straight all the way to the center. Can we please now destroy and uncreate that?
Yeah.
Right, wrong, good. Okay, good. So what does that bring up for you? And there is a specific use of words that I'm using to even trigger more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what does that bring up for you as we're clearing that? And everyone that's here keeps clearing that by just purely holding space, not entangling with it, just purely witnessing, you know, the beautiful soul of Leia here. So what comes up when we say that?
Well, the first thing that comes up, hands are starting to activate, is a sensation of frustration, but I'm observing it, not experiencing it. Right.
No, I want you, in fact, I want you to experience it. Experience it and tell me where you're feeling it. Well, literally, where are you feeling it in your body?
Well, in my hands, I mean, my hands are quite the conduit, but at this present time, more in the solar plexus area, and I'm also 6 months pregnant, so I'm feeling the density there as well.
Okay, so what I want you to do, Leah, I want you to just imagine that you can, which is very easy for you, to float above your body here, look down on your body, and then perceive a timeline, yeah? Events of the past, events of the future. And then just imagine that there is a line, a linear line of those. And tell me when you got that. As you're looking down, you perceive that timeline.
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it more in things operate very abstract for me, so I'm seeing it like
well, whatever way you see it, as soon as you can perceive it, because
if it's a linear line, like a ruler between 1 and 10, it'd be at like a level 2.5.
Yeah, just stretch it out a bit. Yeah. And what I want you to do is, as you're floating above, and your sensation should actually sort of diminish a little bit now, get easier as you're floating above. And if you still have that frustration in the solar plexus and everywhere, then I want you to go even higher. Go as high enough so you can look down. Now you can have your unprejudiced observation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm there.
And then I want you to turn to the past and float back to the very first event, the very, very first event. You experience that kind of frustration in this lifetime or other lifetimes.
Birth.
Yeah. Are you back?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in which lifetime are you? Are you still in this lifetime?
Well, I mean, in this lifetime, it would have been the birthing process.
Yeah, but I want you, that is probably not the first time you experience that frustration. So I want you to go before that, go beyond that. And I know you're quite fast. So just go beyond and just stop whenever you get there, whenever you get that impulse. Okay, that's it there now.
It's a primordial lifetime.
Yeah, and how many lifetimes ago?
I don't know time.
I
don't know time.
You don't do time. You don't have.
I don't know time in these places.
You don't know time. There's no time. Okay, very good, very good. Now, what I want you to do, I want you to just float now closer to that event where you, for the very first time, and even if it wasn't the very first time, that's what we got now, where you experience that frustration. And float further down into that event. Not too close, just as long as it's bearable. And then tell us a little bit what's going on there. Just maintain a height that works for you without going.
I'm feeling it mostly in my jaw area, back in the bottom teeth.
And tell us a little bit about this event. So I want you to use your observational skills now and just look around in that event. What's going on there?
Yeah, this is like a primordial shaman.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
And what's going on? Why are you frustrated there?
Because there's a premonition coming in.
And that frustrates you, or and you can't express it, or what's going on? Or people tell us a little bit about it so we know what's going on. Give us the cause of your frustration. Can you perceive the cause of your frustration there? Maybe you have to go a bit deeper, go a bit further into that.
It's a knowingness without a need to sensationalize through the words.
Yeah, and that's what the soul would say. Now, we're not interested in that in particular at the moment, because I want you to actually vocalize it and really, you know, this is a creative process. So you can make the shit up. It doesn't really matter, because who's going to make it up? But just allow yourself to make it up.
Yeah, no, you see, it's a different languaging altogether. And this is because this is the source of my frustration. When I go into these processes, what I end up facing, regardless of the visualization experience, is it comes down to language.
Okay.
It is an understanding of the this is a very, very old language that has not come through for a very long time. And through the language, and the language being all, right, not just how we verbalize or vocalize, but that's part of it. So my teeth are starting to hurt. There's a language that has not been spoken.
Okay.
The knowingness of it has been forgotten. And that is the source of my frustration.
Okay, so anything that doesn't allow you to voice that language, give us a little snippet of it. Can we now destroy and uncreate that?
Well, those are the timeline wars. I mean, that's what those are the implications.
Well, we're in celestial source, so we can just destroy and uncreate that now. No buckets, remember. Let's take it all away right now. It's just a choice. And then let's see if that voice wants to come through. And then maybe let's have a look at who or what is not allowing you to express that voice, that ancient voice. And all the others are holding space.
The ones that took it in the first place.
So can we just have permission from you now? Can you give yourself permission to step into your power and potency that you are now, and make yourself known that you are taking back your birthright of speaking that ancient language without anyone else having to interfere with that, hold you back, interrupt. And we're going to take all the contracts that you have with those, I almost want to call it demonic beings, yeah, that you have installed at some stage because you needed them. I want you to tell them now that they are no longer necessary to be in your life. I want you to release them, to let them go, to destroy and uncreate all the contracts that you've ever had with them in this lifetime, other lifetimes, dimension, timelines, universes, galaxies. And just let them go. And maybe some of them want to have a little thank you for being of service to you for so long. And some of them need a bit of a kick up their ass to get out. And you are capable of doing both right now. So talk us through it. What's going on there?
There's a stillness in the midpoint that goes forwards and backwards.
Mm-hmm.
So often we think we need words when really we just need to be quiet and still.
Okay. All right.
At some point, maybe it will come through vocally and I'll be able to remember the language.
Okay. Are you happy with that now? What happened to that frustration? Is the frustration still there, or are you happy to put it in that concept?
Well, my jaw still hurts, so I'm sure the frustration is still
Okay.
there.
So what else is there? What other kind of frustration is there? And if anyone wants to ask Leah a question that could help her to create more awareness on this one, please do.
I have a question.
Okay, just a question for her.
Yes, Leah, why do you want this this language to come through that's causing you frustration at this point in time?
It's popped in and out of my awareness in this journey since as far back as I can remember. So it'll kind of come in like a wave and then go out.
Mhm. Is this a language that is the primordial language to
Yes.
your soul self? It's your soul family's language?
Yes. Yes.
So can you call in your soul family to help you stabilize the language and not cause it to wave, so it can anchor straight to you instead of slipping you by?
I feel that it's my responsibility to be more in prayer with that very thing.
Okay. I mean, the mere fact of looking at that from this perspective is probably allowing the frustration to sort of ease. Is that correct or not?
Can you repeat the question?
Would you like to do this? Would you like to go back to the now and spend more time in prayer? Or would you like to look at that in a bit more detail?
More detail. I'm going to grab water.
Okay, yeah. So guys, ask questions, and see what comes up, right?
I have a couple questions.
Go for it, yeah.
Do you feel like there's a message specifically that they want communicated in that language? And is it something that if you can't just speak it, I'm sorry, he's very interested in what we're talking about. If you can't speak it, can you just let it flow in your mind and see if some of us pick up like a resonance of it? Sometimes we don't have to be able to speak the language to be able to translate it, like light language.
Right, right. That is how it appears in that space. Right. I hear you know, of course, watching, you know, AB's material, and especially what they're doing most recently with the light language podcasts. That none of those are the languages that completely resonate and activate, right? They are light language, but it's not the language I remember. I haven't heard it spoken. If I did, I feel that it would activate, but I haven't heard it spoken. So I think there's a level of sadness that comes there, kind of ping-ponging back and forth with all that is, and being able to witness and receive that, but it's not what I resonate as core origin.
Understand.
So what if you would just give it a try? And don't make it significant. What, you know, if it's not that, then don't worry about it. Just open your mouth and let it flow, whatever comes out.
Yeah, I know that feels very like contrived for me, and I don't know why.
And that's so let's say for one moment it's okay. Let's let it feel contrived. It's often just to open the mouth and let it, even if it's contrived in the beginning, it might turn into something else. Yeah.
I've spoken it twice.
Say
I
again?
didn't.
I've spoken it twice, very briefly, and both the one experience was scared the shit out of the guy that I was speaking it to.
I think we're okay. You have
I
permission.
know you are. I know you are. I'm saying I can't force it. It just comes through. And I think that is part of the frustration, is that, you know, and I love, please don't get me wrong here. I love when people are able to bring their light language through, or other light languages through. But for me, it's like, I can't just sit here, and it feels indoctrinated. It feels like a system of indoctrination, and that could be a judgment, but I'm just referring to the feeling of it for me, to be like, oh, well, you can just practice it the same way you send your kids to school and they learn how to read and write. Like, this isn't something that it can be done on command, or it can be done out of curiosity or interest. It's just, and that's where the frustration comes in, is I know that through its own organic evolution, it will come through.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have the same, where I could really only speak light language through my hands for a while, which I saw you doing as well. And it did eventually come on to where I could speak it, but I felt like I was faking it at first too, and didn't want to do it. So totally understand. You've got to play with how you work.
Thank you. And I'll bring up something that's coming in now. My first reading with AB 5 years ago, he had mentioned something about writing in ancient calligraphy form, and that would, you know, bring it through. So we'll see.
I got a direct question.
Yeah.
Is it a birthing language?
Can you tell me what you mean about when you say birthing?
It's kind of vague, but literally a language communicating between different worlds.
Yes.
Entries and exits, portals here and there, connectivity between here and there, transforming new life as a language.
Exactly that. Thank you.
Because you say calligraphy, which is just interesting, because everyone will have a different visualization process. But I was visualizing a birthing process that whole time. And it brought me to like a castle in England. And it was like a person giving birth. And it was just the person being birthed, and it was a very rough birth. Like it was an umbilical cord around the throat kind of birth. Because there's so much trauma in the birthing process. Because I'm just gonna just keep things open here with this process. Because part of the birthing process from life and death transformation, we're in the womb, we're in the cosmic field of all knowledge of everything. And then later, as like the pregnancy moves along, we become, the birthing process just starts as the woman starts contractions. So there's starts to become squeezes on the umbilical cord. There's a lack of nutrients in the fetus. It's uncomfortable in the womb, which has always been comfortable. Then later there can be interactions like the umbilical cord around the neck, or during the actual birthing process, trying to go through the canal. So as you're going through the canal, the amniotic sac can burst. You can be moving through feces, shit, piss, get blood in your mouth, all sorts of nasty things while you're being squeezed through a canal, trying to breathe for your life. The trauma of trying to survive, where each dilation and contraction can be 50 pounds to 100 pounds, squeezing on a little infant's brain and body, or it could be the upside down, could be a wrong direction. But these are serious traumas, just trying to survive. And does each one have a more significance than the other one in the imagery?
John, thank you so much for that. Very interesting. One of my dreams last night was giving birth. I am, again, 24 weeks pregnant with my first child that I'm bringing through. I had 4 pregnancies and 4 abortions in the past. Anyway, I had a dream last night that I gave birth, and it was absolutely flawless. There was no pain. There was no trauma. I just lay back and opened my legs, and my daughter came through. It was a very interesting experience to have in the dream.
Because just in the times we live on, like the birthing traumas have just changed in a way, because there's different traumas that can happen. Because that baby, coming through that dilation process with that 50 pounds of pressure, 100 pounds of pressure, squeeze, can't breathe. Then finally, he's born, and there's a euphoric moment as he's born, as he's brought into this world, or she's brought into this world, where all the pressure and the burden and the squeezing and all the tension finally ends. And generally that can happen to the mother as well at the same time. The mother has that giant moment of release as the baby has that new light into the world. But also the mother could go through trauma at that time. The mother could die. The mother could have all sorts of issues happening at that time that can get passed on to the baby. Yeah. So it can unfold in so many different kinds of ways. Just trying to fight for that breath.
Thanks, Sean. Have we got any more questions for Leah while she's still in her event?
Yes.
I have a question. Go ahead, Herminia.
Oh, I was wondering, this language is something that has to be developed now, or is something for her near future, or is something for her right now?
I'm going to reiterate the question. Are you asking, is this something that I can allow to organically unfold? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, for you right now, or is something that you see in your near future?
I see it as having its own organic process. Yes, I don't feel that trying to force it or bring it through is of right relation with the, I want to use the word sacred. Let's throw that out. Let's just keep it simple. Yeah, it has its own organic process and unfoldment.
Oh, that's good. Thank you.
My question is, Can you forgive yourself for the language being co-opted? Because this energy around the families of the darkness and the light and the balance, when the beings of balance got kicked out of that council, and this, you're not alone. You're not alone in what you're going through here. I see your experience. I see what happened there, and there was a co-opting, a takeover of this dualistic energy that when the beings of balance were removed, it was almost like that was the only trajectory, the duality. And so I see the frustration because as a being of balance who has had this happen as well, we were forced into things that we weren't necessarily agreed to, right? It was like hell or high water. What is the choice point? And the forgiveness of having that power of balance taken away, and the language changing from a place of duality, right? It wasn't your fault. So can you forgive yourself?
It's very interesting that you said that. Thank you both. And I'm going to pull a little bit from what Sean just shared. He said, I'm seeing like a castle in England. And I wanted to note that, because when I went into remote view, the moment of impact of the infiltration, that is exactly where I went. It was a castle. It looked similar to like something that would be in England, right? From another time. And it was the infiltration of what we can refer to now in spiritual community, the divine unions. And the way I saw it happen was that it hit the masculine first, right? The infiltration hit the masculine first. And then in a split second, it reverberated onto the feminine. And it was the sensation of insanity, like literal takeover. And there was this, I felt the sensation of the switch happen. And when he looked at her, he no longer saw his beloved. He no longer saw the truth. He saw her as a distortion of betrayal. And in that moment, in that split second moment, she had a choice to either remember the love and stand in that power, or to receive the betrayal. And then that turned into an abandonment, and boom. It was like all hell.
Was it the wrong hair color or the wrong looking baby? Like, I mean, like from another man.
That's very interesting, because what was happening is I was viewing this with another seer, a friend of mine. We happen to have the same birthday, and she started to choke profusely as we were going deeper into the viewing, and I had her choking. She couldn't breathe, pulled me out of it, so I wasn't able to see more. But it quite possibly could have been there was a child in utero. I don't know.
And
it was some sort of betrayal.
Was she being choked? Like, not just coughing, was she actually being choked by hands?
I don't recall her saying anything like that. It could have been, I don't know. I just know that she was turning blue. So she motioned to me to keep going, like keep going into it. And my concern for her and her profuse choking, I kind of just naturally got pulled out of it. And I haven't got.
So it looks like we're looking at like a marker stone of like one of the most traumatizing births in a long section of a lineage.
Yes.
One that really, really imprinted fear, terror, paranoia into a reality.
And this was royalty. I mean, this was true royalty. This is where we could say magic was abundant and things were in an organic state. And the infiltration came in, I don't know. And of course, back then, again, this was a different time. So, but I was doing some pretty heavy shadow work for a few years there. And I started drawing again and painting after years of not being able to do it. And I would just go into it. And what I brought through the one evening was that it came in through some sort of Asian star system, like above Asian skies is where the original infiltration came in. I'm not a galactic historian, I'm not a Akashic Records reader, but this is just coming through from my own remembrance of it, is that it did come through that, and it kind of did this Chernobyl blast where it just, right? It just kind of almost like an atomic bomb. And it came in through the mind. It attacked the mind, the mental, the astral, the dream space. And there was a choice point there where the heart could have maintained equilibrium, but the mind took over. Yeah.
Now, are you still talking about the birthing time that this all happened?
It comes in pieces and fragments, but that was the sensation of the experience of the remote viewing I did with my friend Becca. Yeah.
Okay, or the lifetime of that same child. Is that where that happened?
Can you say again?
Or the lifetime of that same child. Is that where that?
I don't remember
kind of-
I don't remember there being a child. I think maybe you guys are giving me missing pieces. I couldn't go further into the viewing, but the only thing I was able to witness was the betrayal of the masculine and the feminine through the point of insanity.
Let's focus back to this is going really multi-dimensional here, because there's no time. We're going into all different things. I want you to just go back to that, take your attention just back to that very first event we were actually talking about, yeah? And just look around now. So you're still hovering, just look around now and tell us if something has changed. What's happening with your teeth? What's happening with your throat? Has anything changed? And we're looking for change.
Could I bring something in
No.
before she gets to that, because it might help if, can I do that?
Yep.
Okay. So Leah, what I'm feeling is that your baby somehow is connected to this frustration language that you're trying to anchor. And I'm wondering if it's not you that is frustrated, but the baby itself is trying to anchor that language in. But you being the mom, it has to come through you first. And see if that has any connection as well. And now you can go back to what Martina just said and put it all together.
And also with what Martina said, back to the very beginning, what was that excitement that got you into this very experience that we're going through right now? Right when we started, what was the excitement that kind of lit this whole thing up?
Can you elaborate on the word excitement?
Just like when we started this, you had a bunch of words to say. Yeah, you had you had a clear direction and path that you wanted to explore and talk about, and you kind of lit up like when you were just ready to talk about these things. And what was that feeling about?
Just that there were people that I would be able to have this conversation with, like you had said earlier. I rarely, your excitement matched mine in essence, where it's like, oh, I rarely get to have these conversations, right? Because so often it's just more surface level and what's going on in my life now, and that's beautiful and that's perfect and necessary, but there are these deeper layers that just yeah.
And that's why we come to Earth Nouveau.
Yeah, right.
So Leah, let's refocus, all right? Let's refocus to that very first event that you went into, where you were that shaman or in that shamanic setting. And whilst we're not going to go and you've now said you're happy with working with that language at the later stage, that's absolutely fine. So let's just look around and just see if anything has changed in that event, and also tell us how your bodily sensations have changed.
And the first thing that comes up is there's a deeper and heavier breathing, like this pulse, the sensation of expansion, contraction. But now I can viscerally feel it and visually see that there's this breath.
Is that a more relaxed breathing? Is that a release of breath, actually, where you can use your life force, the breath, to breathe into that event and start extrapolating some more information purely through the breath now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So what's happening with the teeth? What are the teeth doing?
It's starting to dissolve the pressure in the molars.
Pressure, yeah. And what's the throat doing?
Dry. I'm really thirsty.
Good.
I always get thirsty when I do this stuff though, so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're going to take it to an end now anyway. I want you to now I want you to find one learning in this. And Tanya, has been saying about the forgiveness and all of that, and whatever else everybody else was saying. Just find your own learning there as the teacher that you are, going back to that very first event.
Excuse me. Purge. I'm getting lost in the question. Can you refine it?
Yeah. So everything that doesn't allow you to focus on the question, everything that doesn't allow you to focus on that question, let's now destroy and uncreate all of that. Yes? Can I have a yes?
Yes.
Yes. So let's destroy and uncreate all of that and get all those energies out of your field so that you can pull through with your choice to look into that very first event. We're going to close all the back doors. We're going to seal off any leaks of energy. Doesn't allow you to gather yourself in that very moment, to choose and just look for that one learning, or maybe two. What's the learning that you take away from this little exercise we've just done?
Very simple.
Hmm?
It's very simple. The very architecture and structure of this demise comes from belief systems. And we all know this, right? So how do we get it back to the essence of the primordial being before we agreed to allow the infiltrations to come in and dictate our birthright?
Absolutely. So everything you make difficult or serious or mystical or significant about this, that is actually not acknowledging the capacity of your potentiality. Can we now destroy and uncreate all that?
Absolutely.
And the bastardization of your greatness and ancient wisdom and influence and capacity as a teacher that you are creating through making that significant. Can we now destroy and uncreate all that?
Yes.
And what energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body and your mind and your soul and your heart and your throat and your teeth be to have total ease and grace and joy and fun with being the teacher that you truly are? And anything that doesn't allow that, Can we destroy and uncreate that? Okay. Now what I want you to do, I want you to now float up. Imagine you're floating back up out of this event. And you know, you can always go back there. It's just a creative process, nothing mystical. Turn towards the now. And I want you to very gently, very slowly now float back above the timeline to the now. And I want you to stop at every event that has a similar energy of frustration. And then just allow those events to change as if by magic as you float back through those learnings that you've just had in this event. They change as all the quantum entanglements are changing as you float back to the now. And when you're back to the now, take your time, you let us know. You're back?
Yeah, my teeth told me so.
Good, fantastic.
Welcome back.
Well, welcome back, well done. What else you got?
Let's just roll with it, rock with it.
What a fine Wednesday.
Good. Has your field changed a bit?
Oh yeah, my body's cooled down and my teeth aren't experiencing pressure anymore. So yeah.
Good. Well, well done. So well done to the team. So let's see how you get on with that. Because I mean, that kind of stuff, when you go to the very, very beginning of something so significant, then it has an impact on everything, as you know, just spirals through very simply. And lots of the things that used to be difficult and harsh and, you know, significant lose their significance and their difficulty. And everything becomes more joyful. Because frankly, that's what we're here for. Have some And that's part of the grace that we can actually project out to other people. That joyfulness, that aspiration towards ease. No matter where we've come from, no matter what we've endured, no matter what abuse we've had, this is what makes us who we are today. This is what makes us the peacekeepers and the teachers, through being, even if you never ever do a client session with anyone. You just become that energy.
And as we're getting back to these original blueprints, right? The original blueprint for the human body, the original blueprint for Earth Mother, everything that's not that is being deconstructed. So all of those layers and layers and layers that were gathered and co-opted, right? And I think about like the Roman Empire and the church, like going into and layering their BS over the traditions of the culture they were usurping, right? And that same thing happened during the timeline wars, right? With beings who were holding those blueprints and holding the space for that. And the original languages, they got layered over and they got outlawed. They got co-opted and corrupted, almost like encased in a binding that we weren't allowed to use them. And there's so much shame and blame and fear and you know that runs through that separation. That, you know, I see all of us taking those things back now, decreating what was layered and layered and layered over the top, right? You're an archaeologist, you're an excavator, you're going deep into these things that held the energy in place. So it couldn't grow, it couldn't expand, it couldn't, and that dropped the density. So the language now, it's not outlawed anymore, and it's not co-opted anymore.
Yeah. Tanya, I really agree with you. My feeling was forgiveness was like the release, like the water, the crystal water, the fountain is like a spring water. It'll be like, because something that happened. I always remember when some Andrew mentioned something about the psychic attacks that they, took so many people out of the timeline and all that stuff that was happening. However, we had to concentrate in the forgiveness because it's something that we just got to healing, right? And then if we say working in ourselves and myself in forgiveness, I think that would be the strength point from my point of view, working like you said in forgiveness.
Yeah. And forgiveness is, as we know, is always about forgiveness of ourselves to have been entangled with it for that long and to just get out of it. It's a disentanglement, isn't it?
Yes.
So Sean's saying the cat has killed a mouse in his house. And on that note, I want to thank Leah for playing. And everyone for helping with the facilitation and holding space. And I really enjoyed the show today, and we're going to see each other next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That was
everyone.
great
Bye-bye.
today.
Bye-bye.